All good, all good. We are live.
Yeah, right now I see that we are live, so that's amazing. Guys, welcome to everyone to the next second AMA session together with the founders of Scaleswap, Ralf and Stan, and the head of growth at Polygon ecosystem, Arjun Kalsy. So hi guys.
Hello.
Guys in the chat, in the live chat, so we are working now with a live stream regime, and everyone can ask questions and send comments in the YouTube channel. Tell us also where are you from, because we have really international scope in this Zoom today. So Ralf is in Switzerland, Arjun is in India right now, Stan is in Spain, and I'm also in Spain, but in other region. So it will be very interesting to learn where are you from, guys, in the live chat. And to start with, I want to ask the first question to Arjun, because, you know, preparing for this AMA session, we asked the Scaleswap ecosystem, which has a lot of great and super motivated people from all around the world, what questions do they have to the Polygon ecosystem and to Scaleswap's founders? And we received a lot, really a lot of questions. But maybe we start with sharing some numbers, because Polygon is such a thriving ecosystem. Maybe you can, Arjun, share some numbers for the beginning of its development, statistics, and so on.
Sure, definitely. So again, it's been an amazing sort of story for us as well, and again, purely it's been the love of the community and our supporters who have helped us get where we are today. So back in 2020, I remember it was, I think, July, when our final mainnet came out of beta and was live, and from then, like when I talk about last July to July now, right, where we're almost mid into July. We currently have over 500 apps deployed on our platform. We're doing over 6 to 7 million transactions on a daily basis. And we have over 2 million unique wallets. And frankly, just 6 months ago, if you had told me that, these would be the numbers today, I would have just told you that you're crazy. There's just no way this would happen. But it's been a reality. And of course, it's been interesting for us as well, because this just means that this is the confidence which the ecosystem has on us, and it's so important for us also to live up to the expectations of the community. So we need to keep getting better, we need to keep growing faster. So it's been a very interesting journey for us as a company, as a team, and as sort of one of the parts of the Ethereum ecosystem which was trying to scale it. So very happy and delighted with where we are, but of course there's lots more to be done. So yeah.
You have definitely an amazing team, and I've seen that a lot of startups and nowadays they are choosing Polygon as their basic technology to build on. And there we have a question to Scaleswap founders. Why did you choose Polygon as the core technology to build on Scaleswap on?
I would like to give that to Stan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ralf. Yeah, Arjun, thank you for this pitch of Polygon. And indeed, as we started to research for Scaleswap technology, where we should build, we looked on different solutions. We looked on Optimism, on ZK Sync, ZK Stark, but all of these technologies, also they are good in potential, they were not ready. These technologies were really raw and not ready for production. On the other hand, we wanted to build a really production-ready product for the community, which should be used, right? Not in future, but now. And the only candidate for this, so back in May 2021, was Polygon. It was really clear for us. After we did some tests, we saw that amount of transactions per second is okay, is even good. the speed of transaction is good. It's completely full EVM compatible, meaning that it's like Ethereum. And therefore, it was for us really clear to start to build on Polygon. So Scaleswap is kind of bridge between Ethereum and Polygon, because one of our main features is that user can be on Ethereum, but participate on Scaleswap pool on Polygon without a need to switch MetaMask network or other wallet network. And therefore, we understand ourselves as bridge between these communities. But of course, we start with Polygon and we promote Polygon, and our community knows that we are on Polygon and appreciate this.
That's cool, Stan. Then maybe just a short clarifying question, because we received quite a lot similar ones. Will you provide IDOs just on Polygon without Ethereum network, or not really?
Well, Ethereum network is necessary because in the very first product, what we are launching in 2 days, users needs to be on Ethereum in order to participate on a Polygon pool. It sounds a bit wired, but it's what we built, and we learned that it's also very good, because a lot of our users, they don't know about Polygon, they don't know how to switch network, they are not educated in this sense, and therefore we built this help for them. We also integrated Polygon bridge into Scaleswap application, so that the user just can move assets to Polygon out from one application, from Scaleswap, and it's hassle-free participation in pool. So they have all the advantages of Polygon with around zero transaction cost and immense speed of transactions. And of course, they are on Ethereum. They don't need to, let's say, they don't need to learn new technology right now. So they can educate themselves step by step. And this is our go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, and guys, I remind everyone, I guess a lot of people know, but again, Polygon is layer 2 on Ethereum. So it's, as Stan just told us, not possible to use Polygon without Ethereum, just as separate chain, right?
It's possible, of course. Sorry, maybe I was not clear enough. It's indeed possible. Ethereum is layer 2, right, of Ethereum. Polygon is layer 2, but a standalone usage of Polygon is of course possible. But what we did, we created a hassle-free bridge for Ethereum community, for users who only use Ethereum and MetaMask on Ethereum, in order to be to feel all the advantages of Polygon. So these users, they don't need to switch anything on Scaleswap application, but only this user. So for in other applications, it might be necessary to switch network. So we used Polygon as a real layer 2 solution in that sense.
Okay, got ya. And then we have a question from the live chat. I think it is related, it is referred to Arjun. How important do you see IDO launchpads for the further development of the Polygon ecosystem? Can you please elaborate a little bit more?
No, sure, definitely. So I think this is a very important aspect of any network, right? To be able to sort of support new projects and to support like new teams who are trying to build something. So I think this is something which is extremely important for any project, and even for us, like we really encourage like a lot of teams to build IDO platforms. I think one thing which struck me about even Scaleswap when I first spoke to them as well, that they are like industry veterans. They have a very rich background of technology. They both, a very sort of step-by-step structured approach of launching things. So all of that really kind of gave me that confidence that, that Scaleswap team knows what they're doing, and they have the right sort of idea in mind. And like I said, that there is one part that as a scalability solution that people see that there is low gas fees, and then that the transactions are very fast, and you want to switch, let's say, from your current network to Polygon. So that's one way of thinking. But it's so important for us at Polygon also to have lots of homegrown projects, like projects which are Polygon native. For example, QuickSwap, right, which is now a unicorn, like sort of, it's got over $1 billion in TVL. So to achieve this, to be this kind of ecosystem where other unicorns can be built, right, which are Polygon native, it's so important to have these kind of platforms which allow other teams to bring interesting ideas, build them. Because what we've also seen with scalability is that if you take let's say transaction costs and speed out of the equation, in the sense that transactions are now fast and transactions are cheap, so many different types of business models are now possible, which were not possible before, which you could not do on Ethereum or possibly other chains. So what we've seen is a lot of interest in DeFi, in gaming, of how people can use this kind of infrastructure, where you don't have to worry about costs, where you use meta transactions like what Scaleswap is doing, right, where it's just obfuscated from the user. So this is kind of where IDO platforms come in, where teams like Scaleswap come in, which can sort of help the ecosystem grow, which can give a chance to other teams to build something interesting and something new, and then become a big project. So that's why I feel for any ecosystem to succeed, like IDO platforms are very important.
That's cool to know. And by the way, we have a lot of related questions, but speaking about the scalability, as per my knowledge, we reached the next level of scalability on Polygon through Scaleswap developments. So 2,000 of transactions per second, which is really a lot. Can you please, guys, share a little bit more about that?
Should I again? I just, so we have another very important partner within Scaleswap, infrastructure partner, Biconomy. Biconomy is a relayer project which relays meta transaction from Ethereum to Polygon. And together with Biconomy, we tested different setups several weeks ago, and we found one setup where we could push 2,000 transactions per second into Polygon network without any problems. And I even believe that we could go beyond this. So, and it was really, really cool to see, because in my knowledge, it's one of the highest transaction throughputs overall into blockchain, because blockchains are decentralized, right? So it's hard to have this high frequency transactions, but we did this, and it gives us the confidence that we will, of course, evolve and develop further products, next features, further products with much more throughput. So it's really cool. So congrats to Polygon team that it's processing things in so good way.
No, definitely. And when we've actually tested our network as a part of the Reddit scaling challenge, we've actually tested our network all the way up to 7,000 TPS. So there's a lot like which are, a lot of scalability which our network still has. So that's why we're confident that even as the number of users continue to scale and the number of dApps also continue to rise, like our network should be able to deal with sort of the volume of transactions. We've had some hiccups where there were some people who were trying a DOS attack on our network. So because network, fees is cheap, right? So people who are taking $5,000-$10,000 worth of Matic and burning it, like, using and just putting spam transactions. So we've gone through all of that, and and we are also now rolling out ways in which how we can make our network stronger. So it's been interesting, but there's like a lot of scalability which can be achieved on Polygon compared to like any other kind of scaling technology.
That's true, and I can only approve that such kind of infrastructure, it's really milestone to achieve this one, because as Arjun said, it's hard to distinguish where is a DDoS attack and where are the real transactions, right? For example, we suffered DDoS attack in the first IDO, so we know what we're speaking about here. And so really, really good work. And I not regret that we selected Polygon out of other layer 2 solutions.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, congratulations, guys, one more time with this achievement. And I'm sure that together we can reach even higher score, like the next time, 5,000, 10,000, and maybe even one day, 1 million transactions per second.
could be possible.
Definitely.
Sky is the
Definitely.
limit, right?
Sky's the limit, no doubt. Yeah.
Why not? Coming back to the questions from the audience, I try to somehow structure the questions because a lot of similar questions were received upfront, and I see now in the chat. For example, Dave is asking, where do you see the biggest advantages of Scaleswap versus other launchpads on Polygon? And a lot of similar questions were received also on the preliminary questions collection. So who wants to answer? I think Ralf maybe will start.
Yeah, sure. So the first part was already mentioned by Stan. I think it's a certain advantage that we built that bridge from the Ethereum community to Polygon, but it's also an entry step to later on, let's say, also using Polygon native protocol and not, let's say, only via meta transactions. So I think this is one point that makes us pretty special, but apart from technology, we always positioned ourselves, and also we put the concept together that we stand for real values, you know. Transparency is one of them. So we were transparent with our community from day one in a very open and honest way. We stand for fairness. So we believe IDOs are at the moment not really fair. On the one hand, they are purely lottery based, what's in my perspective not the best option. On the other hand, it's a lot budget related. So if you have a lot of tokens, you have a lot of rights at the launchpads. But the whole IDO launchpads are based on smaller retailing backers, you know, and therefore I think it's not the right strategy. So fairness, we we implemented the Scale Score, which is a 6-dimensional loyalty scoring system, out of which only 1 dimension is related to the money a user has. So 5 dimensions are really how loyal they interact with the SCAR token, but also with the projects that are launching on our platform. We're at the moment preparing a detailed article, which we plan to still release before the IDO. But it's a complex topic, which we try also to make as digestible as possible. And the last point I want to mention is market independence. So we see that the current launchpads are highly dependent on the market. You know, if the market goes down 20%, IDO performance might go down 90%. So the price elasticity of IDOs are very high, very strongly based on hype. And also due to Scale Score, but also due to the internal mechanisms that we have, also in terms of how we select ventures, that we really focus on quality, on substance. These are all things that make us more market independent, plus the loyalty that we are getting because of the Scale Score. Because at the end, Scale Score is interesting for everyone to have a high score. For the retail backers, they can earn guaranteed pool participations. So that's the first time that someone can earn them by loyalty. But also our larger backers, they can also earn participation in certain councils that govern, let's say, the whole platform. So interesting for all parties.
Good. That is quite a good overview. And I'm curious to ask Arjun, and what do you see as the major advantages or stronger sides of Scaleswap from your perspective?
No, definitely. I think what Ralf mentioned was like a very important point. So majority of the platforms out there are lottery based, right? And that tends to not be sort of, so it's number one, not fair, right? Number two, also people use bots, right? And we see this all the time with every sort of IDO platform. You know, they're front running bots who are trying to, you know, sort of get a like large pie of the allocations, and it's very unfair for users. So till now, like there have been several different approaches to try to solve this. Like for example, one would be that, you know, you do it in batches, For example, you have batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, and thereby, you change the timings or you try to do some sort of bot resistance. But I think ScaleSwap's approach of having a score, I think, is in a way like a system which is very difficult to, let's say, misuse. So this would like give maybe like users possibly a better chance of getting their kind of allocations, and ultimately like that's what you need, like for the community to be able to participate. You want like even people who are doing IDOs, the teams which are doing IDOs want a level of decentralization, want a certain number of token holders versus so it's not always about just selling the token. It's really about how many holders you have, and that because that eventually becomes a community. So looking at these kind of factors, that's what I kind of liked about Scale. So I've got, okay, they've thought through these problems of what can happen, and what does go wrong, and then they've tried to come up with a better solution. And I'm sure as time progresses, Scaleswap, the team will continue to improve on this process. There might be some new threats in the future, or who knows? Like technology is constantly evolving, but I think they can continue to improve the platform, add more new features, add more elements of DeFi. And I think, from that perspective, the platform can grow really quickly and be like a big project on the Polygon network. So
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
you.
Thanks a lot, Arjun, for this overview. And by the way, speaking about Scale Score that both of you have mentioned, we all commit that it will bring more professionalism on the retail market as well, and more transparency and more purity, if it's possible to say like that. We have a lot of questions about ScaleSwap, Scale Score, really. But one that we probably did not answer previously in different sessions is how did the idea to create a Scale Score come to your mind? And I think that maybe Ralf can start elaborating.
Right. It was exactly like also Arjun mentioned, you are having also a look at what's happening now, what's the status quo. And then you think, okay, is this, let's say, the best what you can do, or can you enhance that? Can you make it more fair? How can you remunerate loyalty? I think because the community, the DeFi NFT community is very loyal, So this is, but at the moment they don't get remunerated for that. Only the ones that have 10,000, 100,000 tokens, native tokens. So there are tier levels where you have certain benefits. And yeah, we thought simply, we did brainstorming, especially with Stan at a very early stage, and we thought of, okay, we want to make here a difference. We don't want to be lottery based only, but at the same time, we also want to have the ones that deserve it most also to get a seat in the pools, and not just randomly selected. So this was the start when Scale Score was born, let's say.
Yeah, that's cool story, very visionary. Stan, would you like to add something? You are both the fathers of Scale Score.
Absolutely.
Well, in this sense, Ralf definitely more than me. So I'm an uncle of Scale Score rather than father. But yeah, I mean, Ralf did lot of research, looking on other platforms, trying to understand what are the problem of the platform, and these problems was identified as not being fair for retail market, let's say, let's put it like this. And then yeah, Ralf started to think about this, how we can improve. Of course, we did also some lot of brainstorming together, and it's all ended up with yeah, this complicated, let's say, technology of containing formulas and containing other stuff, also psychology things, because it's also connected to psychology. Scale Score is kind of loyalty program. and loyalty program is always connected to psychology. And therefore, we are going step by step into this direction. We started Scaleswap as a fair launchpad, and this is our approach. And because of this, ScaleScore is a central element, because this is a fair element. Of course, all other elements like another technology, infrastructure are important, because without them, the platform will not work. But I would say the heart is ScaleScore, definitely.
Perfect, Stan. Thanks a lot for this comment. And another question, I think it refers to you, Stan, mostly. So DeFi Master in our live chat is asking why Polygon was chosen for Scaleswap. DeFi Master, by the way, we answered it at the first part of the conversation. And then he elaborates, I understood its overall advantages, but interested, what features were the most crucial for you in this decision of taking Polygon as a core technology? What features in particular?
Yeah, I would call several features. First of all, number of transactions per second, high performance, then definitely the cost of transaction, because I believe everybody remember early 2021 with the cost of Ethereum transaction of $100 and more for one transaction, which is completely insane and just cannot be possible. And therefore, the feature of cost, not costless, but very low cost transaction, the speed of transaction was the main decision driver at the time, and also very simple integration features, because Polygon is completely EVM compatible blockchain. Therefore, you can develop in normal Solidity language. You can develop your smart contracts. They are deployable like normal smart contracts on Ethereum. And this was the main driver. And if you, for example, if you would go for optimism, then we could be, first of all, we will not be production until now, because optimism was not really in production. But if it would be in production, then we simply couldn't have such number of transactions per second. It means that use case of a launchpad is very difficult to be realized on non-performer blockchain. The blockchain where we want to realize IDO launchpads, they should be really performant. It's its main requirement. The nature of launchpads is that we deal with hundreds of transactions in very first seconds. So basically, launchpads are used maybe one time a week when IDO is launched, but in this particular time they used so heavily that they can even cover the whole network throughput of blockchain for this particular several minutes, and the blockchain needs to hold to this, and Polygon was able to do so. This is the main reason.
And maybe just a little addition, sorry, because Uniswap launch on optimism, with alpha, with their alpha version, they have a limit of 0.6 transactions per second. You can't compare it, because they spread the transactions as a decentralized exchange over a full day, But nevertheless, if you just look at the peak, we are able to do a peak, of 2,000 transactions per second, and that via meta transactions. So yeah, this is just as a little reference, let's say, and therefore also there's also a reason why they limit that, also because it's a new technology, a new layer 2, and as Arjun mentioned, this is the network grew, it's mature. It was also scaled over time because of experience also made, also heavy load of dApps that were coming. So it's a thriving ecosystem, and therefore, yeah, it's a perfect solution.
Wow, that's really solid arguments. Arjun, we will have the recorded video of this AMA session, so feel free to cut the quotes from the guys about Polygon and use it for your marketing. You are muted, Arjun, if you are saying something.
I was just saying that, I mean, this is such an important point, right? That of peak usage, right? So you can amortize the transactions over a day, right? And you can, sort of put some rationality there that, okay, we can support these many transactions. But the fact is that for many use cases, not just like, IDO is one use case, but you look at perpetuals, or you look at options or derivatives and markets change, like you have to be, there will be, these spikes in user activity. And if your network is not that scalable, then you will not be able to sort of solve those kind of use cases. So if the chain is not performant, then what you can achieve as a chain or as an ecosystem becomes very narrow. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing, because I believe that developers and users would want a kind of infrastructure which can solve a broad range of problems, instead of having to switch chains every time they have to do something different. So that's kind of like a very interesting point which both Stan and Ralf have talked about, which maybe is not discussed a lot in the public domain.
Good. And by the way, Arjun, we have a very interesting question to you in this live chat. So question from Amid Yazdi. Recently, IDOs have been dependent heavily on Bitcoin movement and sometimes discouraging. Do you think Polygon can make the ecosystem function in a way that becomes independent of Bitcoin price? How do you think?
So I think building any kind of crypto infrastructure which is independent of Bitcoin is going to be rather challenging. I think like I said, like for me, the most important way of thinking about just in general how to maybe think about this is to take a more longer term view of things, right? So Bitcoin price can change today, it can change tomorrow, but if you want to evaluate any kind of project, then you must like take a more long term view of what the project can accomplish, right? So even with Polygon, for example, like we never discussed token price, simply because we have a very long term view on things. Like we want to build a highly scalable infrastructure. Just give me a second. Yeah, so we want to build something which is highly scalable, and which can onboard millions of users. So there's a lot of work which is left to do from our side. So we have a very long term view of things. So I think even when you invest in any IDO project, like when you do your research, it's important to understand that, or look at the concept which the team has built and try and understand if the team has a long-term view of things or not. So if you like, for example, even Ethereum's price, right? There's a correlation between Ethereum and Bitcoin's price. But if you compare Ethereum's price for the over last 2 years, it has gone from, $90 to what it is today, which is like $1,800, $1,900. So over a long period of time, you see massive gains. So this is kind of how I think one needs to look at these markets. I think there is this narrative of like get rich quick, or those kind of like thinking process where people pump and dump coins. But any serious investor, or any serious sort of let's say blockchain enthusiast will always try to keep a long-term view of things. And when you look at it from a long-term perspective, then you will see that value truly tends to accrue. So that's what I would say, that like don't worry so much about the Bitcoin price. And yes, there will be ups and downs, and there's so many other factors, geopolitical, some of them to where these things tend to sort of there tends to be volatility. But like over a period of, let's say, 3 years or 5 years, you will see how the graph is always very, very, very solid and very clear.
I really love your way of thinking here. Indeed, the long-term projects, they should not so much worry about short-term market conditions. And we see a lot of questions in the chat regarding the upcoming IDO, asking, how do you think, what are the perspectives according to the market conditions? Are you worried about that, etc., etc.? So, I think that Arjun has more or less answered this question already unconsciously, but maybe also Ralf and Stan could elaborate a little bit more according to the market conditions.
Will I start?
Yes, please.
So it was definitely also a discussion in our team meetings, in brainstorming sessions, and so on. Everyone who is in the blockchain ecosystem is also in any way also dependent on the crypto market, you know. So no one can say he's independent. So therefore it was a topic. But at the same time, if you have a look at the IDOs that were launching during the last 4 or 5 months, even, it's leveling. You know, no matter if you are starting in hype times or if you're starting in difficult market times, if you have a look at the ROIs, they are not so different from the IDOs now. Even if they have been X5, X50, X100, they are now also X5, X10. You know, so how can you say market conditions is one thing, but we are not looking only at day one. You know, we are looking at mid and long term, and we want to have a healthy development. And therefore, yeah, there is a certain. It would be nice to have a good start, and we are also convinced that we can achieve a good start no matter of which market conditions. And then it comes in place, what are we doing for it? You know, what preparation did we do? What strategy do we have? What vesting schedule? How do we motivate and strengthen the demand side of the token? You know, how do we strengthen liquidity provision? Do we incentivize liquidity provision? So there are a lot of factors where the projects can also influence their performance on day one, on day 3, on month 1, and also on year 1 perspective. And there, I believe, we put a lot of effort in this topic, and therefore we feel also very comfortable that we have a good launch and pretty independent from the market conditions. In addition, now comes again the topic supported by ScaleScore, because it has a direct, everyone who wants to participate in the, or wants to have a chance to get a guaranteed pool participation in future, you know, what he can do is be loyal to our SCAR token, you know. So therefore, it's maybe the last token that he is selling, you know. Maybe he's selling then, if there are liquidity reasons, first other tokens before he's selling the SCAR token. So yeah, therefore we feel fully prepared for Wednesday and look very positively to that event.
Indeed, and by the way, I remind to everyone, I'm sure everyone in the community already knows and keeps this day in the calendar, but just in case, 21st of July, this Wednesday, literally in 2 business days, we have the IDO scheduled on 10:30 UTC or 12:30 EST European time. So welcome. The whitelist is already finished, but you can participate later on Uniswap and QuickSwap. And speaking about liquidity, before we jump away from this topic, we have quite a number of questions. For example, in the live chat, we have Viet Duke Crypto asking, sorry if I misspelled your name, asking a question about liquidity. How can SCAR encourage market liquidity? And does SCAR have an in-house market maker to ensure continued liquidity?
Right. We definitely have partners that are with which we are working in the area of market making. That's definitely the case, and I think it should also be the case also on decentralized exchanges, not only on centralized exchanges. And liquidity provision is a very central point. overall, but it's only also one factor, you know, the overall attraction, publicity, the demand for the token is very important. But at the same time, you need to provide the according liquidity. And liquidity does not only mean that you can buy the token with a lower impact on the price, but at the same time, it means also that you are better protected if there are larger sellings, because they have lower impact, let's say, for example, for any kind of dumping that's potentially could happen. And we will, on the one hand, liquidity provision is part of scale score. I'm sorry if I mention it again, but so you can increase your scale score when you are providing liquidity. But on the other hand, we will also additionally incentivize liquidity provision with an according LP token farming program that we will start post IDO, and where you can earn additional SCAR tokens when you provide liquidity for our token. And in addition, we will drive, let's say, as I said, these measurements make only sense if you have a strong market presence, and if you have a strong market awareness created. And for this, we also have big plans post IDO that we always have continuous positive news, so we don't shoot out now everything what we have. So there's also a lot that our community can expect from us in the weeks post IDO. We will also, there might also be news about central exchanges not so long time after our IDO, so quite a lot can be expected, which can have a positive influence on the liquidity. So also in this direction, we feel comfortable to form a solid basis for our start.
Thanks for elaborating on this, Ralf. And by the way, speaking about other aspects and about other projects, we have a lot of questions also about the pipeline of startups launching their ideas on the Scaleswap. For example, Marty Brown is asking, I'm waiting for your IDO for a long time. Share your thoughts regarding how do you plan to evaluate check projects for listing on your launchpad? Or for example, Ibo Harun is asking, given that there was a slight delay to Scaleswap's IDO, how did Scaleswap manage the other projects lined up for their IDOs? And so on and so forth. We have a lot of questions related to this. So maybe now I can give a short jump and elaborate a little bit more on the pipeline and deal flow status. And then guys can share their thoughts as well. So guys, I remind you that I'm Nelly and I'm responsible for the deal flow for the upcoming IDOs on the Scaleswap. And we received, so we did not announce publicly any kind of application forms or application procedures for the IDO on the Scaleswap because we were not live yet, but we started sharing some links with our close network, and we received a few hundreds of applications already. We were evaluating them and did really hard job with Ralf and Stan together, and with a lot of great advisors from our investment committee. By the way, will be also announced later on in after IDO. We think that we probably have found a few amazing projects to launch in the next months during July and August. So one anchor project will be announced very soon. I'm not allowed to tell you now, but wait just a few days and you will learn about it very, very soon. We also collaborate closely with Polygon ecosystem, Arjun and his team, and they also help us with bringing in the deal flow of great startups. And I hope that we will see even more flying from their side soon. Yeah, what aspects do we analyze? Guys, this really deserves the special separate AMA session because we analyze a lot of factors. So of course, the project stage, its readiness, if there is a MVP or working product prototype or not, the expertise and strengths in the team, the cap table, so how are they financed up to date and what kind of investors are on their cap table. Of course, tokenomics and token metrics, which is also very important for tokenized projects, and how did they build up all the scope to ensure that investors participating in them and supporting them will be, we can't say about anything guaranteed, yeah, when you speak about investments, but can be protected. So we pay a lot of attention also to the structure of the project. If there is legal structure, if there is DAO structure, how it is all related, and if it all makes sense. Of course, we pay a lot of attention also to the community behind the project. Do they have their strong community supporting them and in need of the product or technology that they are developing? Because I remind that's the mistake of many startups. They are building something cool without being sure that someone needs this. Yeah, so these are the parameters, and as I mentioned, it deserves a separate call, but be sure, be calm and sure we are working really hard and paying attention to all these details, and not only believing words, but double checking documents, double checking the reputation of the projects and people involved there. So it's definitely a hard work, it's a teamwork, and very soon we will be able to announce details about the projects, about their token metrics, about the dates of their IDOs, etc. We already have the pipeline, and I am sure that since the minute we finalized our IDO, we can publish the application form, and our pipeline will grow significantly. I don't know if I missed something important in these metrics. I would welcome Ralf, Stan, and Arjun to share their opinions on what is also important to check before the IDO in the startups.
I just wanted to add one more thing, that it is also in the area of deal flow very important to us, the aspect of transparency. And I believe transparency is not the strongest point of some of our competitors, transparent conditions. So we have a 3% flat fee on the total pool size, upfront paid in SCAR tokens. Very straightforward. So we don't understand why you can't make that transparent and openly. Why does it depend on the project? Why? So these are the little questions what other launchpads might face. So we are there very straightforward, very transparent, and also how we build up whole Scaleswap and community, but also team. We want to avoid all these politics, too much. So why is a project chosen? And there are a lot of influencing factors potentially, but we want to eliminate these and want to concentrate on the quality. On the quality, if this project deserves the IDO on Scaleswap, this is the deciding element. And if it has a real innovation, if it can really make a difference to an ecosystem, if it can drive mass adoption. So these are the big topics, and not who is getting which allocation and all these games which are taking place, So therefore, and this is, also not, I don't want to blame anyone, we just say, we do it transparent. However, others are doing it. Maybe they're doing it the same way, maybe not. But we are very transparent also in that way, and we will emphasize definitely on quality.
Just want to add here that why we are doing such a hustle, because we want quality and long term. So we want projects which has potential for long term to perform. We believe that the whole blockchain ecosystem needs to be even more, let's call this professionalized, right? It needs to be taken to the next level. And we see this now in 2021. If you compare the whole blockchain ecosystem with 2017, I would say 2021 shows that everybody's much more mature than 2017. The technology is mature, stakeholders are more mature, and projects as well. And this is our game. So we want quality and long term. Because we believe in blockchain. We think it's the future of asset of value exchange is decentralized, like internet, and we go this way of disruption.
Exactly. Arjun, would you like to share also your thoughts? You talk with so many startups every day. What is important to look at while evaluating them?
So I think some of the basics, like I think Ralf and Stan covered, which are obviously very important. And I also personally look at some of the similar metrics. So I try to, number one, see that the idea of, or the problem which the team is trying to solve, like is that a problem in the, is it a genuine problem in the ecosystem? Are many teams solving this, or are they the only one? And most importantly, how are they solving it? Like, is it something which is plausible? Is it something which is possible? Will it be performant? So those kind of things are very important. So this is how I look at the business idea. And of course, once the idea makes sense, you look at the token economics, you look at, how much they're trying to raise, those kind of things, whether, that makes sense. Another important thing is also the team. So is the team anonymous? Does the team have, like, have they done projects in the past? Is it a new team? So several times, teams which have done projects in the past, who have some sort of track record, definitely, have a greater chance of maybe doing things right. And also having, like, teams which have experience tend to account for those other factors, like, for example, doing proper marketing, having community managers, like some of those things which sometimes new teams miss out on, and maybe don't feel is that important, but is something which is very important. So these are just the simple metrics I look for. And of course, I try and gauge from the information which the team has provided to see that is this team in it for the long term, right? Like, what are the vesting schedules, like, when Ralf was talking about it as well. So those kind of things, kind of give you an idea of, how that team is also thinking about, let's say, the longevity of their project and things like that. So I think that those all of those factors, kind of go into what my decision making, sort of is on a daily basis when I try and see whether, I have to help a project, let's say with a grant, or do I need to refer them somewhere else. So it's something like that. Yeah. So a lot of things have to be looked into. So because at the end of the day, like, all of this data is fine. Like, personally, if you ask me, like, all of this data, everything, is fine. But as a project, like, if I were to just talk about maybe myself personally, like, I tend to believe that a person wants to succeed. I tend to believe that people want to do good things. So, I'm willing to trust people. And if a team has that passion and genuinely wants to do something, sometimes that is the most important thing. So all of this data is fine. But sometimes, if the teams have that little X factor, they can, sort of overcome, maybe deficiencies and things like that. So that's also, I feel, is very important. Like, for us at Polygon as a project, and even for me personally, having, been a developer myself, it's extremely important to support other developers, to support other teams in whatever way we can, and give them that chance to succeed. And sometimes people don't get it right the first time, and the first project is not, the best. But sometimes, like, maybe if not the first project, the second or the third project, and at some point, the entrepreneur or the developer or the team will find a way to succeed. So, it's important. It's a new ecosystem. It's difficult for everybody. Sometimes even the developer tools don't work. Like, it's that kind of industry we are in. Like, so you have to sometimes just give people a chance. And so all of this data is important, but I also sometimes just try to see in my mind whether this team has that, X factor, that can they overcome some of those deficiencies. And that's also very important to me. So yeah.
So your view is very similar to the one of business angels, supporting entrepreneurs with burning eyes who want to
definitely.
build something special.
Absolutely. Like my biggest aim is that people be able to quit their jobs and build blockchain projects. Like that, that's my goal and aim in life. So I want maximum people to, leave their boring jobs and do something fun. So whatever I can do to enable that, I'll do it from my side.
Oh God, here we match, all four of us match very much. More people quitting the jobs and starting building something fun. Indeed. Look, guys, we have 5 minutes left before the end of our AMA session, and we have tens of questions that we didn't have time to answer. So first, let me promise to our community that we will collect questions that we could not answer today. Those that are related to Polygon, we will forward to Arjun and he can reply later on, or we can organize another session in some future. Maybe the one question for the end of the discussion would be great to bring in, because it refers to the last topic. So the question is, success is linked to several factors, with so many projects vying for attention. How to achieve the network effect, and which is an indication of success? I think it's really important and interesting question, because many people, they misunderstand the word success. They think if you raised funds, you are a successful project. If you got million on table, you are a successful project. That's not exactly how the success should be measured in the startup and blockchain world. So guys, Arjun, Ralf, Stan, can you share your opinion how to measure the success?
So definitely, I agree with you there, Nelly, that once you raise money, that's actually when the problems start. It's not where the problems end. A lot of people don't realize this. Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's such an important question to ask as well, right? Like, what is success? Like, what does success mean? Which project is successful? I think when I judge like successful projects, I look at, number one, the strength of the community. Like, has the project been able to build a community? Because like I said, this is a new industry. Nobody gets it right the first time. Like, every big project out there, whether it is Aave, Compound, Balance, or like all the big tier one blue chip projects, all of them have gone through this cycle where they've had to make pivots, etc., like and do those kind of things. So the strength of the community. Second is that, are the founders genuinely passionate about building something? Like, are they passionate about blockchain technology? Because, block building, like a lot of people don't realize this, and this is kind of where, the Web 2 and Web 3 separation happens. Is a lot of people like miss this very important fact that if it is like, let's say, if it is X times difficult to build, like, let's say, a Web 2 startup, it is 100x times difficult to build a blockchain startup. And the simple reason being that in a Web 2 startup, you pick up, let's say, some angel funding, or you do private funding, and then for a long period of time, nobody is there to ask you any questions. You keep building, you to take as many pivots as you want. And then at some point in your life cycle, you will go public and you will raise money, and then you become, let's say, public company. In blockchain, the moment you do your IDO, you are a public company. From day one, you are a public company. From day one, the pressure is on you. So the way you need to think about a blockchain startup is not actually like a startup. You need to think of it like a Fortune 500 company, where it's not just important to deliver business outcomes, but it is also important to, be able to communicate with your community. Like, you've seen how Fortune 500 companies are so active on, LinkedIn, Twitter, and they have these huge social media teams. This is kind of how you need to think about blockchain startups. A lot of people don't realize this, so it is so difficult. I cannot even tell you, like, it's so difficult because I live that life every day, and I can tell you, like, compared to any other Web 2 startup I work, like, this is the difficulty on this is just so high. So that's why I feel, the strength of the community, the passion of the founders, and just that mindset to be able to, to build something great, even when the markets go up, markets go down, like those are kind of the success parameters for me. So projects which have stood the test of time, where the founders have had that passion to go through, when the times are good, when the times are bad, and the community which has stood by the project, even during the ups and downs. Like, for me, that is the biggest, like, sort of indicator of success for a project.
That's really great point. And by the way, just one more time to underline, it's not the size of the community, because we've seen a lot of cases when you have
definitely.
100,000
of the community.
followers in Twitter, and one like or something like that.
Those are probably just paid followers. Like, the engagement is so important. I look at this exact point which you mentioned, right? I always observe this, like on Twitter, what is the engagement? Like on Telegram, what is the engagement? Like what kind of questions are people asking? Like you're absolutely right, Nelly. Yes.
Perfect. Ralf, then.
No, it was such, really good speak what you mentioned, and we learn this every day. Community is everything. We are building products for the community. We are not building products for ourselves because, what's matter, right? So we are building here products for the community, and especially in decentralized ecosystem, the community is even stronger. And I would say it is faster to get attention of the community than in normal world, normal web 2, like you call this, Arjun, web 2 world. But it's also faster to lose this traction and this attention of the community, because they are really, like you said, they're really looking on you. They are looking how you perform, how transparent you are, and it's important factor. And speaking about success, I would say success is when again you build a product and there are users for your product, and there are happy users for your product, and the more happy users, the successful you are. I mean, for example, let's take Bill Gates, right? He had a vision that everybody should have a PC, personal computer, within the room, and he achieved this, and we can call this success. No matter if you love or not Microsoft. By the way, Microsoft is also building very good products. For example, MS Teams.
Your reputation is gone now, Stan. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah. But I want just mention that it's all about your product and the users of your product within the technical entrepreneurship. If you have a great product but no users, you are not successful, even if your product is better than everybody else. If you have a shit product, a great community, you can be sure that it takes some time and you will lose your community. Therefore, you need to find the balance of the speed, how you develop the product, how you find the needs of the community and the problems, and how you solve these problems with the product. So amount of active users is the real success factor, on my opinion, nothing else.
So yeah, very good points from Arjun and from Stan. Maybe just one last thing. How do I measure success also for Scaleswap? If I look back on the 19th of July 2022, and I'm looking back of 1 year since our go live, and I look back and I can say, okay, and the real majority of the projects that launched our platform made a real difference. They put great products in place. They performed well. They have they made new innovation. They brought real value to the space, and they developed into successful ventures, or maybe decentralized governed organizations. So this is in addition to what was said, let's say, then the real success factor where I would like to measure it. And I know to the community, if I'm now saying this in a very generic way, be sure if this is taking place, the ROI follows as well, So if the projects are successful, let's say this is also mirrored, if you like, financially or from a token metric side. But the important thing is that these projects are simply successful, and then we made, let's say, our job as a launchpad and giving them, let's say, that kickstart into the world, into the public world, like also Arjun said, after IDO they are public. It's a little bit like IPO, small IPO, because you are directly in the spotlight. You have a community that asks you daily, when it's coming, you know, when do you deliver it? So, and this is different, let's say, from the Web 2 world. But we are prepared, and we know that it is a challenge, but we are ready for the challenge.
That's a perfect summary, and thank you guys for sharing it. And by the way, I'm really happy to see such smart questions from our community, that they are not asking about the price of tokens and how many X they can have, but they're really caring about how we assess projects, what kind of startups we have on the pipeline. It really refers to what Arjun said about the quality of the community. And we are super grateful to you guys that you are thinking in the same way that we are, and sharing our vision. And right now, I want to say big thank you to Arjun, who joined us and spent more than 1 hour with us. Arjun, you are such a big box with a lot of great ideas. So that would be great if you can continue these experiments with public discussions from time to time. And of course, in between, very intense collaboration between Scaleswap and Polygon, so that we will take the best projects from Polygon ecosystem and give them the door to the world through Scaleswap Launchpad, and at the same time, those young ones we can bring to the Polygon in order to get your support. You are head of growth, and you are doing great job in growing.
Thank you so much, like, for your kind words. And it's you know, I wish Scaleswap team the best of success. And I was looking at Ralph's background, there's a rocket ship in the background, so you know, you guys already have the have the right ingredients. So yeah, so I wish you guys all the best. And yeah, of course, you know, whatever we can do from our side to support the growth of Scaleswap, we will do that. So thank you so much for the time, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arjun.
And yeah, thanks a lot, Ralf and Stan. Ralf, the father of the Scales core, and Stan is a hacker and talented programmer, CTO, who could reach the milestone of 2,000 transactions per second, which is incredible, and he will do more and more and more. And thanks a lot for our community from India, from Spain, Israel, and many other countries we've seen today on the live chat. And despite the hot weather and the working day, actually, they stayed with us and participated. So thank you, everyone, and wish you a beautiful end of the day or night or whatever is in your time zone.
And thank you very much to our Chief Venture Officer and our exceptional moderator. Like always, it was a pleasure with you, Nelly. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you,
Thank you, Nelly.
Thank you, guys.